Welcome to the How to Heart Show, helping men reconnect to the heart and empower others as the leaders they were born to be. I'm Vincent Haasboom. The world needs the raw and authentic men right now. Join us if you're ready to make a change. Hey, what's up, Lions, and welcome to the How to Heart Show, therapy and shadow work. I've been going through these phases and stages in my life. And for me, it was really difficult to go into therapy and also with the shadow work. Once I learned about the shadow work, it was really challenging and I didn't really know what it really was and how to look at it and how to work with it. So I brought Ashley Isaacs, and his journey is really amazing. He approached me on LinkedIn, and he had such an amazing story to share. So I decided to have him here on the show because he has some really powerful stuff to share with us. So I'm super excited to have Ashley here. He will share more about his story and what he does. So I'm really looking forward in getting in the conversation with him. So Ashley, thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thank you, and welcome. And I'm super excited too.
Yeah, it's your first one, right? It's your first interview.
Yeah, first interview about what I created, but also I am super excited. This is my passion. It's my calling.
Yeah, I felt that when we just called, we did a pre-call, and I felt so much passion and energy and the things that you want to do and teach and how you want to help people. It's really powerful. So I'm really happy that we can talk about it. So actually, before we go into this, can you share more about yourself in a nutshell of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So yeah, my name's Ashley Isaacs. I got into therapy in 2011. I joined the Mankind Project, and I saw something magical unfolding. It was like a version of shadow work. It wasn't exactly shadow work, but I saw magic happen in front of me. Me and other people transform, and my passion was set alight. Yeah, and I moved on from that to learn other modalities, and then something life-changing happened a couple of years ago. It's like I got lots of answers all within a short space of time, and I created something, and yeah, it's life-changing for people. Yeah, and on that journey, I realized this is my passion and my calling, to help people to heal from the shadows, from the distress, from whatever's going on for them, and not just emotionally. I realized on this journey that all chronic illness is tied to emotion. So if we address all of the emotion, then a lot of problem and pain and distress go away for many people. And that really touches me, Vincent.
Yeah, and what you mentioned there, thank you for sharing. What you mentioned there was also for me the body keeps the score. It was really eye-opening for me that the body keeps the traumas in our system. And I didn't realize until I started doing the work. And I realized there from doing the hard work, also the shadow work, that the traumas was in the front seat. It was in the driver's seat. It took control of my life. So how was it for you to understanding the traumas and also to deal with them?
So I could talk to my own personal journey. I was, like most human beings on the planet, especially in the Western world, traumatized at a very young age. Didn't know that that's what was happening. Got into my adult life and said, like many people, oh, my childhood was just similar to many others. It's just the way it was. But some things happened in my childhood that were, in a way, traumatizing, and they were impacting my emotions and my experience and everything in my adult life. So when I started to understand the impact of what was happening, I could then unpack my traumas. I then went into training in the Mankind Project and then in shadow work to assist other people to unpack their trauma. And that's where I met a lot of, the wide plethora of what everybody can be traumatized by. Fascinating though, a very minor, someone would see as a very minor trauma, as in maybe a child being shouted at for something they've done wrong, as compared to losing a parent young in life, or sexual abuse or severe physical abuse, whilst they're not comparable in any way, the impact to the human being can be very similar. So a very minor trauma can have almost exactly the same impact on the internal system of someone as something massively horrific. So I guess it all comes down to, Vincent, why were we not educated and told how to deal with our emotions? Why did we start to misunderstand over decades and over generations how to use this physical body and to understand trauma and how to release it and let it go? It's like our civilization has almost forgotten.
Yeah, and it's also not taught, like you said, it's not taught in school how to learn about your emotions and how to deal with them. It's just you put in school, you finish
Mm,
your degree, and you're just in life, and you have to figure it out. And for me, it was similar. The traumas that I had and that I had to heal, for me was also just a needle in a haystack. Where do I start? What do I
mm,
begin? And some traumas I put them away so deep that
mhm.
after I pulled off the layer, then it started to surface, and it was wow, it was crazy how much traumas and how much it was stored in my body. It was really crazy.
Yeah. So some of my training, I first went to shadow work, which works on the shadow from like a left brain point of view, to understand it, to map it out, to get to know it, and then to kind of re-assimilate it back in the body, accept it, and move forwards. I then went into something called body psychotherapy, and that's various different physical techniques, hands-on on the body, and that tackles trauma from the physical side. And that was really fascinating to see, like, doing a very, very deep, not a deep, but a very, very gentle, intuitive massage with someone, and the trauma, because they felt safe enough, was able to release and let go. And they may not even have had the story for it, but all of a sudden there's tears because I've just managed to unwind a knot or a tightening that had been there for years, maybe decades, and just allowed space for that to open, and then the tears can come, and then maybe the story comes. And so I started kind of piecing all of these tools together. We've got the physical body, we've got the left brain, we've got the right brain, we've got the masculine, the feminine, we've got the shadow and the light, and yeah, just started to work with all the tools. And it's almost like I felt in my bones that there was something missing. Like, all these tools were great, but if I could put them all together and do something else, then something really magical would happen. It's just like I just kept on going and going and playing. And yeah, one of the key things that I came to, Vincent, is eye contact. I realized that when we're in sync with each other, but you and another human being, um, as in you're talking, you're flowing, when you have eye contact, when something is spoken, both of you know inherently inside whether it's truth or not. And so in a therapy process, if lots of eye contact is used at the moment when someone comes up against their truth or comes up against their shadow, then something magical happens. It's like the shadow has nowhere left to hide in the room. It's fascinating. They say like the eyes are like a reflection of our soul, right? And
Yeah,
yeah. I've had some magical experiences happen between me and
it can
another
be also
client
really.
just with eye contact.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it can be also really tense when you look into somebody's eye. Usually, when I have strong eye contact, especially with women that I'm attracted to, I just look
Mhm.
away. Just it's too much.
Yeah, yeah. And in that moment, Vincent, they are able to read so many things from you just from what's going on in your eyes. That's why it feels so intense. You know, everything's on the
Yeah.
line. The stakes are high.
Oh, cool. So, Ashley, I really want to go back a little about shadow work and the trauma. Can you
Mhm.
explain what trauma really is and also shadow work?
Sure, sure. So let's start with trauma.
Yes.
Um, when something happens to us emotionally and we don't have the emotional tools to process it, to talk about it, to share it, to let it go, we hold it. That's what trauma is. We hold it in our bones, we hold it in our muscles, and it's the physical structure that aligns with the holding and the pain of what's happening. So if I use an example, um, if someone has lost a parent recently, um, it will feel like pain. It will feel like their heart is being torn in some ways. Heartbreak. It feels like the heart is being torn in two. Um, Neurologically, there are neurons in that person's heart that were connected to the physical person of the person that's just died. So there's an energetic cut in the neurology, but there's also a hole there. It's like there was a space in my heart for, say, my father or my mother, and then if they pass away from the physical, I can't ever see them again. They're not here anymore. Maybe the the sadness of the unspoken words, the missing out on parts of the relationship that could have been, all of that loss, and it creates some sort of pain in the body. Now, if we don't go through a process of crying to the bottom of that pain and letting it go, and as I said in my example, letting my mother or father go if they passed away, then I'm holding on to them in a painful way. So I'm holding on to the grief in a way, almost like to keep connected to them because I don't understand another way. So when my mother or father do pass away, I won't hold on to pain. That doesn't mean to say that I don't feel anything anymore, but I just have a different mechanism to let things go. So trauma is the human's inability to let an emotional thing go. I'm sure you've probably heard that one of the key things to the personal journey is to be in the ever-present moment, right? And smile and to just be happy that you're here right now. How can you do that if you're carrying lots of painful stories that are from the past? You know, if my mother or father had passed away and I was carrying grief about that, they have gone from my life now. And you know, initially when it happens, it's going to be raw and there's going to be pain and heartbreak. But if 5 years down the line, I'm still walking about and I'm sad and I'm depressed and I can't find my way, and that grief experience is still happening to me, then the only person that's doing that to me is me, because I'm keeping that cyclical trauma story in the present moment. You know, in my example, my mother or father had died 5 years before. If I'm still sitting in pain, I'm the person keeping that pain story going. They've gone. And, you know, if they were looking down at me at the time, I'm sure they'd want me to just be happy and to let them go. But I'd be still carrying on holding that pain. So they say that the gateway, I've got lots of these anecdotal phrases, the gateway to the heart is grief. A person cannot fully open their heart if they're holding and storing grief. If they start to go through grief processes and understand how to grieve and then grieve all the things they've been holding on to, then their heart can fully open.
And that's something that's really interesting, Ashley, because I also learned or also met grief coaches, and I was just mind blowing that people need to be coached because they cannot let go of the grief.
Mm.
And I had the same feeling when I had to break up with my ex-girlfriend like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My heart was closed off. I couldn't let anybody in. There was so much pain, there was so much
Mm.
sadness, and I didn't realize it was grief. It was
Mm.
so much pain and sadness, and it took a long time for me to really understand that I had to let to that I had to let go of the grief.
Yeah. So, you know, in your community where you live, when you walk to the shops, do you see someone bawling their eyes out in pain of grief? You know, do you see that on the street? Do you see that in your society? It's almost like we've shut it away, Vincent. It's a taboo to cry because definitely in the UK society, some people believe that shows weakness, and so they won't cry in public. So it's all behind closed doors. And so, how do we get to see it, Vincent? I remember
Yeah.
when I was young, and there was there was some news footage of an earthquake, and the people that were there at the moment that had lost someone, and there was some footage of some women, and they were wailing, Vincent. They were full on wailing and crying, and I think like that. And so I looked at it with judgment coming from my country, and I was like, that's really weird. Why do they do that? In actual fact, Vincent, aren't we weird in the UK that we don't wail and cry, because that's actually very natural, and our ancestors made it unnatural for us. And it's like, it's almost like we need to relearn how to be a human being and relearn the tools that we've been given.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's also what you mentioned there is also like a strong key point for men, that men are not allowed to cry. So we stored up all these emotions, all these frustrations, the pain, and we don't know how to deal with it. For
yeah.
me, I just cried. I naturally cried. If I was sad, I cried. But there's also a lot of
Mm,
men, they hold it in
mm,
and they don't know how to express themselves, or they don't feel
mm.
safe to express themselves.
No, no.
And you can really see it in society today, right? That the young generation especially, they look for ways out to express, but they don't know how. And if they see that they cry or
Hmm.
cry with friends, they feel weakness, or they feel that they're not being
Yes.
valued as a friend. It's just like a
Yeah.
sissy. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really
Absolutely.
sad.
Yeah. So for me, I personally shut down crying. I think I was about 3 or 4 years old. It was very young, and I don't need to go into the traumatic experience, but the important thing is, Vincent, in the traumatic experience, what do we say to our inner core as to how we're going to change? Because that's how we modify ourselves. We're highly adaptive creatures, man. Our neuroplasticity is mind bending. Um, so in that moment when I was young, I said to myself, I cannot show up with emotion. I cannot cry. I cannot be seen as weak. It was just that clear in my system from that moment. I did not cry. And if something happened to me in my adult life where people would normally cry, I would feel the feeling come up here, and as it would get to my neck, it would also be almost be like someone was strangling that feeling and just saying, no, you can never get further than just here. And so it would be like an itchy feeling in my throat, and a tickly feeling in my nose, but I would never allow myself to cry. And so I remember on my Mankind Project weekend, there's a beautiful moment where, the guys have been through at least 24 hours of extreme, beautiful processes, and then they're invited to say what they'd like to actually work on right in that moment, in that weekend. And I'd been given some time to work it out, and I said, I want to learn how to cry. I want to give myself permission, Vincent, to be able to cry again, because I knew it was like a fundamental circuit that had been broken in me. If I can't cry, I can't let go. If I can't let go, I'm just walking about with a baggage full of trauma, and then I'm not me. I'm my trauma. I'm my trauma and me at the same time. If that makes sense. It's like we have our authentic selves, and then our egoic structure that's been created neurologically to be able to manage and navigate what had happened to me when I was young.
And how was that, Ashley, to cry for the first time?
It was beautiful, it was delicate, and then something odd happened, and I didn't have like a coach or a mentor after that. It's like I started to do my work, but I didn't have someone just putting their arm around me and saying, do you know, Ash, this is the next path, this is the next thing to lean into. So I was kind of in the dark, and
Mm.
I just given myself permission to cry again, Vincent. And then, do you know what? I couldn't turn it off. It's like, because I given myself permission to cry for the next weeks, or couple of months, it's almost like I couldn't watch TV. I had to be very careful what conversation I had, because I could just end up in tears. I couldn't watch romantic films. At one point I cried when I was watching The Symptoms, and I was like, oh, something's really gone wrong now. But why it kind of softened after a while, and I realized, because I'd had no permission to cry for decades, and then I'd given myself permission, it's like the floodgates opened, and there was so much to cry about in there. Stories I couldn't even remember, but the tears and the trauma were still in there. So it's almost like I had to go through some weeks of cathartically crying this stuff out, and then I'd find more stories, more to process.
It's really fascinating, especially I've seen it also with myself with the crying. I Once I cried, I felt better. I felt relieved,
Mm,
and I think that's also a good way for us to, how can I say, like you said, open the floodgates. Just let
mm,
it out. Don't hold it in. Just let it all out, and you will feel better. It's like you said. If you keep it in, it will. You have a lot of problems. Your body will function really bad. You have stored illnesses, all of these
mm,
stuff. So
mm.
you don't feel good. And when we try to hold it in and wear this mask so people
Yes,
won't see us cry, it takes
yes,
more damage on your body and your physical body and your
yeah.
energetic body as well, right?
Yeah. So I really start to look into like the biology of what's happening. So I remember a couple of years ago saying to myself, when I was crying something through and allowing to let it go, like asking myself the question, what is this process? What is it that it could do if I went all the way to the bottom of it? And, so some people say, when you cry to the bottom of your pain, then you find some answers or you find some inner peace. So I kind of gave myself permission to cry all the way into that pain. Where is it? Like in my gut. And most of the time it's in the gut. And if I focus on that part of my gut, when I'm in that pain and in that trauma loop and crying it out, if I crunch into that part and really cry deep into that pain, what happens then? And then what's going on with my breath? It's like I'm analyzing what's happening to me whilst I'm going through it to understand how to help other human beings. And so I realized that when I cry right to the bottom, it's like it would contract and contract, and I'd crunch down right into the deep, dark parts of my gut where the story lived. And then all of a sudden, I take a big, deep breath. And the feeling in that big, deep breath said to me, what do I want to fill this space with? That's now gone. So the cry, it's like it contracts into our gut and it shudders and shakes our gut. It's like it's literally ripping apart the trauma bonds that are stuck in there. It's vibrating all of the fibers of the muscles, all of the ligaments, and all into all of the parts of the gut. And the gut is like it's like a sensor for safe and not safe. So any trauma that you've experienced that you lock into your body, you've locked it into a part of your gut as well as in your physical structure. Um, so yeah, it's like a lot of people surface level cry. So they just do some tears and they're just, oh, I'm really sad, and then and then they pick themselves up. I can't go there. Let's get on and make a cup of tea or something, and let's act like it's not happening. What would happen if you gave yourself permission to cry right to the bottom? What would happen then if you just let go? If you just found what was in the bottom of that part of your gut, and then when you breathed in, what would you replace that feeling with? If it's to do with losing a person that you love, what would that person want you to replace that part in your gut with? Fascinating. We have neurology all the way through our system, Vincent, and it holds on to stories, and it talks different languages, and it's like we need to learn the language of our gut, our heart, our throat, the energy centers of that the ancient civilizations were and cultures were talking about for thousands of years.
It's really mind blowing. And just listening to it all, and it's like, wow, it's really unique. Also, how every organ has its different vibration and how it talks with each other
Absolutely.
and communicates. It's really powerful stuff. It's really cool
Yeah.
to learn more about that as well. But what really catched on to me is when you said permission to
Yes.
cry. And for me, it doesn't really connect there because I never had that issue to ask myself permission to cry. When I felt
Mm.
lonely or I felt sad, I
Mm.
cried. So can you explain more for maybe people also asking, why should I ask for permission for myself to cry? Can you share more
Yes.
about that and your own journey?
Yes. So words are very important, Vincent. Each one of my words expresses something within a sentence, but the vibration of my emotion is carried within my speech. And so words are very, very essential. So I play with wording, and it has to be absolutely accurate, and it has to align with my client and what they're going through. So I take my clients through a process of being able to own deep down in their core just a few basic statements with eye contact. And this is where this gets very, very fascinating. So if someone's been carrying the story their entire life, and most people in Western civilization do, that I'm not good enough, then if that person gets taken right to the edge of that story, something really amazing happens. And so we have neurology in our gut, we have neurology in our heart, we have neurology in our throat and in our brains, and it all connects together. And it, as I said, it all speaks a different language. So I've gone in reels, and I may have gone in a tangent. Can you repeat your question, and I'll align my answer more to your question?
The question was that you asked for permission to cry,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
it didn't resonate with me.
Yes. So I ask my clients to own the line, I'm good enough exactly as I am. Now, that's a really hard one. It sounds like a simple sentence, but if you try to say that, looking someone in the eye when they're connected to you, or looking yourself in the eye in the mirror. So I was working with a client a while ago, and there was no feeling happening on a physical level with this person. There was the whole experience, but it was almost like it was happening in their head rather than in their body. And they were trying to say the lines, and they couldn't own them. They knew they were a lie. And so I was just kind of trying to back it up a little bit and back it up a little bit. And where do we start? Where's the opening here for this person? And it just dawned on me, it's almost like they don't have permission to feel. And so I said, for the rest of this session, can you look me in the eye and say, I give myself permission to feel some of this? And because I said the words, feel some of this, they could do that. If I'd said, do you give yourself permission to feel the rest of this session? The answer, even if he said yes, the answer would have been a lie, because that wouldn't have felt safe for him in that moment. But permission to feel some of it, and then something clinked in him. And it's like, I've never given myself permission to feel anything. So for him, he had no permission to feel anything in his life since he was tiny, since he was 2 or 3 years old. If you've got no permission to feel, you have no permission to cry. You have no permission to love or be loved. You have no permission to feel safe. You don't even understand what that is anymore, Vincent. If that's been your experience, if you've told yourself when you're 2 or 3 years old, I don't have permission to feel because it's unsafe. It's dangerous in my environment to feel something. I'm just not going to do it. So that's like a core problem for a lot of people, especially men. Give yourself permission to feel. And then as a next level, give yourself permission to express that in some way. And you might have to go off and learn what that's like to express that, how that's safe. Yeah, we have to have permission to feel as a core. If we can't feel anything, then we're not going to get anywhere, because this, Vincent, my friend, is a feeling journey. We can't learn from our left brains out of this. It don't matter how many books you read or how many videos you watch, until you experience the feeling of letting go of what you've been carrying and feeling the experience of your feelings after that, then you're just gonna be spinning your wheels and not get very far.
Yeah, it just, this is really powerful. Actually, it's like, wow, it's mind blowing for me. Also, I never saw it that way. I stored my emotions, I stored my traumas, but to ask for permission, it's like, wow, that people really lock themselves up, and they need to ask for permission from themselves to open up.
Yeah.
It's wow.
Uh-huh. Oh, you've touched on something really, really interesting there, Vincent. So,
Okay.
so as Erkot Tolle famously said, when he was just about to kill himself, he'd had enough, and he's lying in his bed in the middle of the night, and he said something like, "I don't want to do this to myself anymore," and it kind of smacked him in the face. Well, who's the me, and who's the doing it to me? And it's like, there's not just me in here. So if there's not just me, what are these other things that aren't me, and what's their remit, and why did they get created, and why aren't they aligned to my authentic self? Um, so yes, we all want to be our authentic selves. We all want to feel safe and loved and have permission to play and be free and be creative and to flow. But what happens to us through an experience of the people that we're born, the family we're born into, the friends that are around, the society, the social conditioning, as you said earlier, the schooling system as it is at the moment for most people, it conditions us to not be ourselves. It's like the whole construct is set up for us to not be our authentic self. Because if we are our authentic selves, we're not controllable. And so this kind of leads into a much wider topic, and it's something that fascinated me
Yeah.
because I'm so fascinated about the human experience and why are so many people struggling so much with just being a human, just looking after the human that they were gifted when they were born. Why are we all struggling so much? How long have we been struggling for? And where did it all go wrong in a way? When did we stop being our authentic selves? And our historical timeline is fascinating. Um, but yeah, it mostly comes down to civilization. We created something called civilization, and it's like a construct, it's like a structure of how to function. But nobody in it, in the civilizations that we've created over the past few thousand years, hardly anybody in the system is actually happy. And so it's almost like that wasn't a remit for civilization, for us to be inherently happy and to feel unconditional love and to feel completely safe. It's like society wasn't built around those as core values. It was built around different values that then impacted society, families, and social conditioning. And so this journey sort of becomes learning what it is to be me, learning who Ashley really is, learning what Ashley wants to say if there's no holds barred, and Ashley can just say whatever he likes whenever he likes, not to offend, but just, do you see what I mean? If there's no conditioning on my throat chakra, then what do I give for myself permission to say and when?
It's also like you mentioned, the conditioning. It's you have to be somebody that you're not. For me,
Yes.
example, I was also really quiet. I can be an introvert, but I can also be an extrovert. Now I'm in balance. If I with strange people, I don't know, I be introvert. I'm just checking the people out if I can feel safe or not. But like people like you, I'm really open, expressive because I'm really in line and in tune. But it took
Mm,
for me a long time to understand to be myself. I can be
mm,
who I am. And what I see today is like everybody's trying to wear a mask. They want to have
yeah.
like the amazing lifestyle with the beautiful car and the
Hmm.
beautiful family, but deep inside they're not happy or they want to do something else, but out of fear they don't do it. And also what you said with the school system, when you go to schools, like you have a question, raise your hand. You're not allowed to speak freely. You're not to speak
Yeah.
what's on your mind. And it took for me such a long time to say what I feel or to say what's on my mind. I was always
Mm,
worried about other people's feelings
mm.
or that I don't get a conflict with somebody. And it was so stressful to be this person that I didn't want to be. Don't set any boundaries. It was so difficult. Did you also experience that as well, Ashley?
Yes, yes. When I was young, I there were some people that I could just be myself with, my close friends. But if I got into a different environment, I remember being like a young teenager, going to the local pub and having a drink. I felt incredibly uncomfortable. Once I'd had 3 or 4 pints, I was then more relaxed, and then I was like a different person. I was completely relaxed. But yes, up until that point, it's almost like for the first hour in the pub, I didn't really have anything to say, Vincent, and it was it was almost torturous. Torturous
Yeah.
looking at other people, seeming that they're just relaxed and they have things to say and people seem to like them. I don't know what to say. I don't feel relaxed and I just feel thoroughly uncomfortable until I've drunk 3 or 4 pints and then I can have fun. Um, yeah, it was a difficult time. Yeah, not giving myself permission to be Ashley.
Yeah, that's
And
really
what
powerful.
I started
Yeah.
to find fascinating, Vincent, was that it affects the neurology in that area of the body. So if someone doesn't have permission to speak their truth, over time it starts to affect their throat area. They can end up with cancers, polyps, cysts, tumors, pain in their neck where their vertebrae goes out of line because that area is energetically misaligned. Fascinating. And then someone goes through a process in a connected heart therapy session to own their truth and be that give themselves permission to speak their truth. And not only does the physical symptoms fall away, the cancer and the tumors and the pain in the back of the neck, but they comfortably speak their truth. And all of their relationships then shift and change because they're showing up as authentically themselves.
Yeah, Ashley, thank you so much for this powerful first start, because what came to me was also I struggle with that as well, to share what's on my mind, to speak my truth. And
Mm,
what I usually did was always cleaning my throat.
yes.
And also I had a lot of pain in my throat. I always had so much
Mm,
pain in my throat, and I didn't understand why other people didn't have it and I had it all the time. And then I learned what you mentioned, that I wasn't speaking my truth. And once I started doing that more, speak my truth, set my boundaries, it got less, or it was
mm-hmm,
completely gone.
mm,
So that's really powerful to that you mentioned that, because people misunderstand what the people or what the body does if you don't do the things that you need to do.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It just, yeah, it almost like it holds in our muscular system, in our ligaments as they connect into our bones, in the fascia, in between the muscles and in the skin. It holds everywhere. So you said that it's almost like you didn't have permission to speak your truth. So if you didn't have permission, then what happens is a contraction. It's like your system wants you to speak your truth, but in here it says, nope, we're not doing that. We don't speak out of turn. And so there's a contraction. It's like the energy comes to here and you squash it and block it. And that then can over time create pain and distress and can create, well, will create health problems long term.
Absolutely. I've seen with myself. I in my journey from a couple of years ago and now, I was sick constantly was sick. I
Mm,
wasn't feeling well. I was tired all the time. I was hard time getting out of bed and all that stuff. And what I realized, I was really mind sick, because I
mhm,
was toxic. I was talking toxic to myself. I was toxic
mm,
outside of myself. I was toxic to the world, to the people, resentment, anger, frustration, and I felt sick every single day. And if something happens, I
mm.
got like a conflict with somebody. The next day, I was in a flu, sick in bed.
Yeah,
I couldn't move. I was in so much stress, and I realized my body's keeping me here. My
yes.
body's also trying to keep me safe for what's coming, or I don't know how to deal with it. But I was constantly sick because of how I talk to myself. Like you mentioned in the beginning, how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to other people, how we
Mm,
express. It's so important. And I changed
mm,
my lingo. I changed how I talk to myself. I'm more positive to myself. I'm more
mm.
grateful to what I have. I'm more grateful with other people. And then I started to really shift into the positive. I talk better now. I talk freely. I feel better in my skin. This year I haven't been sick. I have some sick, but also we're not doing well here with the food and everything. That's another topic that I don't go in. But we I tried to change it. I tried to change my behavior, and I became so much better. I felt better, and it really made me realize I have to be positive for me in order to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the inner critic is so interesting when a person starts to give it a voice, because of course it's just been rattling around here like for years or decades, right? The way that you speak to yourself, you then start to give that voice, and then ask the question, would you speak to anybody else like that, Vincent? And most of the time the answer is just an absolute no. So if you wouldn't treat anybody else like that, then why are you treating yourself like that? And then it all starts to crash down, right?
Yeah.
Why would you treat yourself worse than you're treating anybody else on the planet? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And some of the things that some of the words that I've heard from the inner critic of some people are vile, the most disgusting, awful words you could ever imagine. And some people have just got that rattling around just in the background all the time. That's traumatizing. And we don't have to live like that. There is a way out. There are ways out, Vincent. I have found some ways out of the trauma. People don't have to stay stuck in it.
100%. And we're going to talk more about that later. But I really want to go deeper into the shadow work because that's a really powerful topic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because also the first things that we discussed, we can have like one episode about talking about that. It's really fascinating and we can so much cover about that. But I really want to go deeper into the shadow work. So, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
what is shadow work and how do you start that?
Okay. So shadow work was created by a guy called Cliff Barry and a couple of others in the US a number of years ago. It was at the time of the early time of the Mankind Project when that got created in America too. Um, he wanted to bring together a number of different tools because he could see that there was some great stuff happening. And again, if he brought it all together, something amazing could transform. And he created some amazing processes with lots and lots of different therapists giving an input as to what would be helpful in that moment and why. And that, yeah, there's some beautiful processes. So what we do in shadow work is we create an external representation of the inner psyche. So we were talking about the inner critic earlier. That is a part of ourselves. That is a part of our neurology. And so in shadow work, we could externalize that either by representing it as another person or with a character of some type. And then we give it the words. As I said, most people never speak the words aloud of their inner critic. They go to a shadow work session, they'll be exploring those words and what those words sound like, and then the impact of those words to their authentic self. When we hear someone else say it externally, then something happens because then it's external and then it's out there, and then we can understand better what to do with it. So shadow work can be done in a group setting, so we can use a number of different people to represent the different parts of ourselves. We can use them to represent the traumatic experiences that happened when we were young, and then use a person to represent how we could change that story. So as an example, in shadow work, if we've got a person exploring something that happened to them that traumatized them when they were tiny by a parent, so we'll get someone to play the parent and someone to play their inner child when they were 2 or 3 years old, and then the words that we'll come to are the impact of their behavior or the impact of their words on us. What was the message that we were getting in that moment? And it mostly comes down to, you're not lovable, you're not good enough, you're useless, I don't care about you, something like that's the flavor of the energetic emotional message. And then, so what's the message being taken on by that little child in that moment? And because someone's watching, it almost like watching a replay of their psyche and of their trauma loop outside of themselves, they can use different parts of their analytical brain and their creativity to work out what actually needs to happen. And mostly what needed to happen in that moment was an ideal parent or someone to say to them, do you know what? You're good enough exactly as you are, and you always have been, and you will always be lovable. And if we were lucky, Vincent, we got one of those parents, most people were unlucky and they got two that couldn't hold that space for the child so that they could understand what was happening to them in that moment. So yeah, shadow work externally creates an external representation of someone's psyche and the trauma loop and the messaging. And once it's externalized, we can then understand how it needs to be changed. When we're a part of that process of it changing, that person, quite often there's like an anger piece of work where the person needs to get angry to be able to take back the power from that dynamic. In that moment, they're drawing up their own energy to be able to physically fight this thing out of their world. When they physically fight it out of their world, they're energetically fighting it out of their world and neurologically fighting it out of their world. And so then when it's out of their world and the process is finished, then there's a space inside Vincent for a new story to take hold. And so in that space, what do we want to put in there? And it's the story of our authentic self, what it's always wanted. It's always been good enough. It's always been lovable. We've always been able to trust ourselves. And so it's like we re-story, we help a person to re-story their neurology.
It's when I listen to this, it's thank you for sharing, Ashley. It's really
Well,
really powerful. What really came to me was the shadow work. It's really the shadow of our side, right? So it's the pain, the trauma that we have to look into or have to face for order in us to change into the light, so into the positive. But I realized, or I remember when I want to go into the shadow work and really into the trauma, because I do this because I made it myself. So I said it's my trauma, but it's something that happened to me, so it's not really mine. I say it happened to me, but I have the responsibility to change it. It's my responsibility to do the healing. My
yes.
parents cannot do it for me, not
No,
society, not the government, only
no.
you. But you need to have like professional help like Ashley or other people that can guide you. And I worked with the psychologist, and I did EMDR. And when I did that, I was like, okay, it's really scary because it took for me a long time to seek help. It took for me a long time to look at that shadow side, at that dark side. It was too dark. It was too painful. So
Yeah.
what I did was I was looking for other ways. So I did the Wim Hof training. I went energy healing. I did a lot of things not to face those fears. I did a lot of things not to do it. I was constantly avoiding. But then took me 2 years for me to realize, and also people telling me you need to get help, you need to get help. And I was like, no, 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 I will do it myself. Don't worry, I will fix it. I will solve it. I wanted to do everything by myself because I believed if I do it like this, then I'm more safe. I don't have to do the shadow work. I don't have to go into the pain. But then one day I was walking in the street, and I had a lot of issues with talking with women, and I tried so much. I tried everything, coaching and healing, and I couldn't get it done. I constantly, when I want to talk to somebody that I was attracted to, my body was shutting down. I was starting to shake, really my hands like this, and I couldn't talk properly, and my body was just refusing to function. I was constantly in I want to run away, constantly in this fleeing mode, where I was stuck, nailed to the ground, and I couldn't move at all. And I felt so much sensation through my body and so much tension that I said, enough. It's enough. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot spend years and years and years of my life looking for answers. I know the answers are inside me, but I really need to get help. And it took for me such a long time for me to took the step and say, I'm gonna see a professional. And once I did that, and also with EMDR, the first time EMDR, I was avoiding it. I was so scared to face that because he said, if we do this, you're going to go really deep into the trauma side and also in the dark side, in the shadow side. And I said, oh, I'm not feeling good today. So we're going to skip it. Just another day.
Let's do
So
it next week.
We'll do it next week. Exactly. So I tried to constantly avoid it, but then he said, Vincent, no more excuses. Now you need to do it.
Great.
And he pushed me through it. And once we started, I just cracked. I just crumbled. I just cried instantly.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we did more sessions. I think I have 10 plus sessions, but he also helped me with understanding myself, with the traumas and the healing. But once I did it over and over again and I started to work on myself, I started to feel better. And once it's now been 1.5 years that I started, and when I look back, it was really tough. It was
Mm.
really challenging and it was really difficult. But the best gift that I gave to myself is that I seek help, but I never gave up. I continued doing the steps, doing the work, listening to audiobooks, reading books, work with people like Ashley or other people, just see and look for ways that can help me. And once I started doing that, I was like, wow, I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful that I get help. It was really tough. It was a really challenging journey, but I'm really grateful and thankful for myself that I did, because some people, also me, I could choose not to go. I said, like, enough, it's too much. I cannot handle the EMDR. I had those moments, but I still kept going. And I feel like a lot of people, you can also talk more about that as well. I feel like that people, once they start, they should keep going, right? They don't give up on yourself and your journey of healing.
So, at the core of this, have you heard the term like core beliefs? We have core
Yeah.
beliefs about certain things. So this journey is, as I said, it's a feeling journey, but where that comes from is our core beliefs. And so you said about starting to do the therapy, and it's like the most scariest thing. And for most people, it is the most scariest thing. It's like facing their monsters, and
Yeah.
they're inside, and we can't get away from them, and we don't understand how to face them. So we also need, as a man, to put a hand up and say, I need help, I can't do this. Again, that's quite foreign to quite a few men. In that process, Vincent, we're giving ourselves permission to go on the journey to heal. So in that moment when that guy said to you, when you said, I'll just put it off for another week, I won't do it now, I don't want to come and meet my shadow today, that's a bit much, let's do that next week. And he said, do you know what, Vincent, it's now, let's just start now. And it's almost like he pushed you, but you gave yourself, because you could have said no, you gave
Hmm.
yourself permission to start your journey. In that moment, your core belief system started to change in that very moment. And then it just started to build from there. As you said, you gave yourself permission to be all in on your journey. So one of the things that I ask my clients before they come is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to get what you came for? Now, everybody always says yes. And it's a line that I learned from the Mankind Project. They ask it at some point on their weekend. The reason why it's so important, Vincent, is when you say yes, that is your truth. You will do whatever it takes to get what you came for, to heal. That is your authentic self saying, yes, I will do whatever it takes. Now, along the journey, if you then bail, if you get to a process and, oh, it's a bit too much, hang on, this is a bit too painful, we're going a bit too far into the deep dark corner, I'm just going to back away a bit, then the facilitator can say to you, before you walked in this room, you said that you're willing to do whatever it took to get what you came for. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to give yourself permission to now to go right down into that deep dark corner? Then the answer again will be yes, Vincent. And so then the healing can occur. It's such a powerful sentence to say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get what I came for in this journey. I'm all in. Because then you're affecting your neurology in your core. The journey has already started.
That's really interesting, because what I had in that moment was, I knew if I didn't, where I was going to stand today. So I know if I don't do the work in a couple of years, I know I will be going through the same things. I will be so much scared, so much fear. The body, I couldn't resolve it by myself.
No.
So if I said to him like, no, we're not gonna do this, and maybe another time, or I just postpone it and just stop going, I know for certain in the next 2 to 5 years I will be in the same situation, and I will be upset, because then I would be telling myself, why didn't I start sooner? Why didn't I continue? But I
Mm,
knew deep in my heart that if I didn't change now, I will be still in the same person that I am a couple of years ago. And my um, the co-work and work, he forced also me to say, you need to get help. You need to get help. Do something, please, because we see you struggle. We
mm,
see you having a hard time with yourself, and we don't want to give you that. We want to see you happy. We want to see you
mm,
live your life. And I said to him like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But then I just postpone it. I was always looking outside of myself, looking for answers when
mhm,
when I just needed professional help.
mm.
So I knew if I didn't change that, I knew I was in the exact same position a couple of years ago. And also what I say sometimes to people, I can see your future. And they say, how do you know that? I say, you're doing exactly the same thing, your same habits. You don't get help with your traumas. You don't do the things that you need to do to excel in your life. I know if you don't do anything, you're going to be the same person in the next 5 to 10 years. And they just look shocked at me.
Yeah, well, yeah,
They don't
yeah.
even realize.
Well, yeah, from a statistical point of view, you are correct. If you do the same thing repeatedly over and over again, you are going to get the same outcome.
Yeah.
The moment you choose to do something different, your future reality changes.
But it's really awareness also, right? That you
That's right.
need to be aware of, okay, now it's enough. Now I need to get help. Now I
Yeah,
need to make a change. But it's
yeah,
not really awareness, because we're putting it away. It was like, oh yeah, here's a bag, and here I will shove it away. I will look at it next year when I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
better. And it's not worth it, guys. Really, just if you feel that you need help, get help. It will change everything. And I know it's really scary. I know it's really confronting to face your demons or the monsters, how Ashley explained it. It's really challenging, but it's really necessary. I feel like if we start to heal ourselves first, we can heal or help others as well, because we've been there. We can support them, but
yeah,
also
yeah,
we start to heal the um, the world as well, slowly.
yeah.
But Ashley, it's been really powerful. I'm just blown away with the knowledge that you have, and the way you express yourself and talk, and also your journey and how far you came. So it's really exciting for you to have you here. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna go into a commercial, and after that, it's gonna only be like 2 minutes. And
Hmm.
afterwards, we're gonna talk more about your journey with the therapy and what you're so excited about. It's gonna be really powerful. I had a little bit of taste what Ashley told me, and it's super, super powerful, and I'm really, really excited. So, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and I will see you soon.
Perfect.
Increasing expenses have caused us all a lot of pressure these days, and it's affecting even the wealthiest of people. Most have lost their sense of security, stability, and even hope for a strong financial future. The game plan of everyone in your cell phone has likely been disrupted or even hardcore stopped, and most are looking for a creative solution to regain financial momentum. Oftentimes, life's best solutions are the simplest. But first, a question. What is something most people think they should own but don't? Crypto, fine art, real estate? Nope. We are talking about real money. The kind kings and queens fought for and large institutions today buy in mass. We're talking about gold and silver, assets that provide confidence in tough financial situations. So the question is, do you own any? If you don't, you're not alone. Most people aren't maximizing the power of precious metals because it's just been too complicated. And even though they see advertisements about gold and silver daily, they don't really know who to trust. That is, until now. The bottom line is that buying gold and silver doesn't have to be complicated or scary. There's a simple, better way to accumulate assets and create financial peace, headache-free. And this very minute, A new community of average people are seeing above average results to the tune of tens of millions in assets over the last few years. This system is tested, it's simple, and it's not an experiment. To date, it's helped more than 80,000 people bring hope back into their lives. It's invitation only. And right now, this new community has accepted a challenge to give away as much free gold this year as possible. Curious? Learn how to get your free gold today. Check out the next step to get the details.
And we're back. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being here, guys. So Ashley, let's go into the powerful, awesome stuff that you discovered and your journey. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay, so as I said, I'd learned shadow work and I'd started to work with some clients with that. I then learned body psychotherapy and how to work with trauma from a physical point of view. I then started to get into neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and lots of stuff that's coming out in the scientific world over the past few years, especially around 2021, 2022. And the information coming from there was that all of our neurons are programmable. They're all plastic, as in we can modify our neurological programming, and that none of our genes are destined to create our genetic destiny. As in, we can get born with cancer cells in our body. That doesn't mean to say we're going to suffer from cancer. That's dependent on the environment in which that cell resides. And the environment is vibration and harmony or disharmony. So someone can get born with cancer cells in their body, but they will only get cancer if they create the environment in which a cancer cell breeds. A cancer cell can't grow in a human host that's at peace, that's in serenity, that's in joy. It's just not possible. They grow in human hosts where the person is in a high level of distress for some or regular or constant periods of time. So we're not designed to be in stress for prolonged periods of time. So what we call stress is our ability to survive. So I'm just going to break this down a little bit. In our gut, I don't know if you've heard this, but our gut is very, very intuitive. It is designed to be able to keep us safe. So the three Fs, the fight, flight, or freeze, that comes from the neurology in our gut. And I can't remember how many neurons there are in the gut. I think it's over 1 million. There's a lot. And they're connected through the vagus nerve, which connects to all of the important organs in the body. So that whole system down there is designed to be able to either fight, to freeze, or to flight, to run away. That's what it's designed to do. So if there is a danger, it will activate one of those three systems to keep us alive. What we do as human beings is we stay in prolonged periods of time in levels of fear or anxiety, worry, concern, or maybe irritation, frustration, anger, rage, or shame, guilt, suppression, shut down. If we're sitting in those experiences for prolonged periods of time, we will make our bodies ill, and they will be a breeding ground for things like cancer. And the systems will start to break down. So our fear cycle is to stop us from getting killed by a lion, a bear, a person with a knife. What anxiety is living in that environment, that vibration experience of fear for most of the day or the entire day. That's a serious amount of stress on the system, and no biological thing has ever been designed to sustain that kind of stress on itself. It wears out. It's not designed to do that. If we see a person with a knife or we see a lion, we activate the system of fear, and we run like crazy, and we get ourselves out of the system, and then our breathing regulates, we slow down, we let it go. Hopefully we process the trauma of that as well in the experience, and we let that go too. So someone who has anxiety, they're sitting with a lion breathing down their neck like they're about to die all day, every day. That will be affecting the stasis in their gut. It will be affecting their gut biome. It will be affecting the tension and contraction of all of their muscles. It will affect their ability to be able to process water, as in water retention and being fluid with the water that's going through their system. So it's insanely unhealthy to be able to sit in prolonged periods of fear. It's very unhealthy to sit in prolonged periods of anxiety, anger, shame, shutdown. They're all very, very bad for our body. But we've normalized this in our human society, and we call it stress. So I'm really stressed out. That means you've spent the majority of your day or the past weeks or months living in prolonged periods of stress, and that is making you ill. And that is not what your system was designed to do. And that is not what your authentic self wants you to do either. It doesn't make you happy. That doesn't make you feel free. That doesn't make you feel loved. So when we sit in prolonged periods of stress, we create dysfunctionality in our bodies, in its systems, and they start to get affected over time, and they create illness. And things start to break down.
Yeah, this is really fascinating because I also learned that it can also survive in acidic environments. So if our body is not alkaline, it's really acid by the things that we consume, and also what I wanted to say, we're being poisoned every single day, that our body doesn't have any time to process. If it's, like you said, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and then it has to deal with poison, and then it has to deal with acid that comes from soda like Coca-Cola and all this stuff, your body doesn't have any time to regulate. And I learned really to also drink water out of a copper cup. So those small things can really help your body to be strong, because it needs to work all the time to get your toxins out, dealing with the stress and overflow. And also what you mentioned last time, when we were on our phone, we're scrolling. So we got all these dopamine hits, and our mind and body's getting so much in the last decades, so much stress, so much, how can I say it, just wow, it's so
like an
much.
overload.
Yeah, it's so much exposure. The body's exposed to so much now, and the brain also, it's constantly working. When is the last time that people put their phone down and just look outside? We're just keeping ourselves busy 24/7. And people think, oh, when I go to bed, my body's resting, so my mind is done. Like, no, your body's still processing everything. We don't get enough rest. So I'm really glad that you bring this up, that you really need to start taking better care of yourself, just not with how you eat the food or the water, but really also take time for yourself. Go for a walk, put your phone away for a couple of hours, go into nature, talk with your neighbor, talk with your girlfriend and boyfriend, or what you need to do to relax. Today, you can see it here, I get a massage because I had a lot of nuts in my muscles. I need to do that. If I'm not gonna do that, it's gonna be a problem, because the body cannot solve that. So you need to take better care of yourself, right, Ashley? To do those small things, and your body will start to take better care of you.
Yes. Yeah, well, and it comes back to the wording. And so I'll just say this to the audience. Do you give yourself permission to put your phone down for periods of time each day and just stop? Do you give yourself permission to just stop and find out who you are when you stop using the screen and you stop the thought processes in your head and you go into the stillness of the present moment with your breath? Are you willing to give yourself permission to find out who you are when all the noise goes away? So many people say to me, Vincent, I don't have enough time. Oh, I love that. I love the fact you talk about meditating, Ash, but I just don't have the time. I'm like, there's 24 hours in a day and you only need to sleep for 6 or 7 of those. So what are you doing for the rest of them? And why in not even a couple of minutes of that 16, 18-hour period, you're not giving yourself permission to stop and be in the silence and come back to you? When do you come back to you? Because you can't come back to you if you've got a phone in front of your face, or you're talking on the phone, or you've got thoughts just swirling around in your heads. It's interesting. One of the questions I send my clients a questionnaire before they come to a session, and it's just to start unfolding their emotional experience of their life so far, but also the physical symptoms that have gone along with that emotional journey. And some of the questions in there is about sleep routine. It's really fascinating. So everybody believes that we're supposed to have this perfect sleep routine, like we're supposed to look like the perfect person and be the perfect person. Well, it's not true. Before the invention of the light bulb, most people didn't actually go to sleep for a 7-8 hour chunk. Most people went to sleep soon after the sun went down, or that they might have worked by candlelight or firelight for a bit, but then they would slow down. And our bodies are designed to do that. We're supposed to be in connection to the circadian rhythms within ourselves and the sun and the moon. So when we invented the light bulb, people started staying up longer, and then they would go to bed for a chunk of time. But up until then, most people just went to bed for 3 or 4 hours, a sleep cycle, and then they might get up and do some stuff in the middle of the night, and then maybe have another sleep cycle, or maybe not. Maybe have another one as a nap in the afternoon, because there was no requirement to do it at specific times. But if we tell ourselves we have to have a 7-hour sleep cycle, and if we're not, we're broken. And why is it I keep waking up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and can't get back to sleep? There's lots of stuff going on there, Vincent. Lots of stuff that could be given time. That time between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning, that is like a golden time when everything else is silent. There's no other human beings around doing anything. Everything's quiet. And that could be a perfect time to meditate. So if you are waking up in the middle of the night and you have got things in your system that need to be processed, do you give yourself permission to do it then? Because your body's just woken up. It wants to do something. There's something going on. It's not that you're broken because you can't do 7 hours sleep like other people seem to do. It's you've woken up. So utilize that time. Now, what does Vincent want to do in that moment now that he's awake?
That's quite interesting.
Is it just pick up the phone and doom scroll again?
Probably that. No, but you're right. It's that's also what I've noticed. Sometimes I wake up and then I feel something. I feel like pain in my heart, or I feel my leg just not. I want to move, or I want to do something, and I grab the phone. But it's really, why are you waking up? What is your body or your sleep or your higher self telling you that you need to do? So yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. That's really, really important. You'll get messages that you need to do something. I think.
Yes, when we stop and listen and give time and space, the messages can start arriving. And so you asked me a little while ago how I got to the therapy, and I went off on a bit of a tangent. I quite often do that. So I started to piece together all that I've been learning, and I realized that there were some core fundamental problems in the trauma and in the holding of the trauma, and they came down to the neurology within the gut and within the heart and the throat and the pineal gland and the crown chakra. And I started to see similarities between the energy centers and what I was hearing from Joe Dispenza, because he was starting to become very popular at that kind of time, talking about epigenetics and neuroplasticity and the power of someone in meditation to be able to change their core beliefs, extend their life expectancy. He was doing a lot of scientific testing on the what was happening to the people that were going through his meditative process. And so I just started to play with the neurology and the storying and, from a shadow work or somatic point of view, that's going on in the gut. And mostly That comes down to a few very simple lines, very simple messages. And then if they're in their core, they're not true, then we've got a real big problem. So in our hips, I'm stable, I'm safe, I'm solid. I keep me safe. That's massive, Vincent. How many people deep in their core believe that they have the capacity in every moment to keep themselves safe? Because if someone believed that in their core, they couldn't also have anxiety. Because if they trust and believe in themselves, there is nothing to be worried about, because there is no lion or bear or person with a knife. There is no requirement to activate fear, because they trust and believe themselves. They start to remember to listen to their gut.
But Ash, is it not crazy that we changed like the bear, the tiger, the people with the knife with not be on time with the boss, make
Yeah,
our spouse happy, make our children happy?
yeah,
It all changed to that, right?
yeah. For me, my go-to, I didn't get into anxiety or depression. My go-to was irritation and anger. I was taught from a young age that that was a way of coping with life. And so, you know, it was like at some point, I wanted to destroy someone or something because someone had put something in the wrong place in the dishwasher. I mean, that's the nonsense that was going on in me. You know, I don't have such a relationship with spirals of anxiety and there's no lion, but I want to destroy something because someone hasn't done something that they said they were going to do in the way that they said they were going to do it. And so that was my experience of reality, Vincent. And that's just so hard to constantly be irritated, frustrated, angry, and in a rage. And that has a massive impact on me and all the people around me. So yeah, it's like, what is the anger cycle? Well, the anger cycle is to fight something, like actually physically fight something. The massage community call these muscles just around the back of the shoulder here, just here. They call them the gunslingers. So if you imagine you've got a couple of guns in your hand, you do this with your shoulders. Those muscles activate. Or if you're going to have a fight, you know, a boxing stance, those muscles are activating because you're about to hit something. Now, if I get irritated, I mean, I don't do it much anymore. It's like an old story in my system. But when I used to get irritated, those were really incredibly painful. And the reason why is they were getting ready. They were building all the energy to punch something and hit something, because that's what irritation and anger is for. It's to fight something. I've got nothing to fight. My child put a knife in the dishwasher the wrong way. There is no fight, but my whole system was geared up to fight something. And so I would then get pains in my neck, across my shoulders, where it was all contracting and it wanted to fight, and the fight never came, Vincent. So it's almost like we've been given these tools, like our gut is designed for survival. It will, if we listen to it, it will help us to survive in all situations. It intuits what's going on, and we can listen to it, and it says safe, not safe. And when we actually listen to it, we can navigate life quite well. It's like a guidepost. If we don't listen to it, and we're spending large or constant periods of our life stuck in it, being in distress, it doesn't work properly. We can't listen to it, and it starts to break down. We're not supposed to be not supposed to be in constant stress. We were never supposed to go there, Vincent. And because of society and our conditioning as young people, we get taught to be living in constant states of stress. And it's just unhealthy. It doesn't work.
No, for sure it doesn't work. And I, for my own experience, what I hear from you, the fighting was for you a way to cope. You used that for you to cope with the emotions, the stress, the trauma that you had to deal with. For me, it was pornography. That was my coping mechanism, because I got traumatized with my mother. So I was looking outside of myself, and porn gave me that safety for not being rejected.
Yeah.
So that was my coping mechanism, and it felt so safe just to watch porn and ejaculate, because I feel connected. I felt like I feel good in the moment. But
Yeah.
afterwards, I felt really awful. I felt really alone, and also when I saw women that I was attracted to, I constantly in stress and
Hmm.
fear. But I realized in my journey that it was always the coping. Porn was always something that I have to keep
Hmm.
myself safe. So I
Yeah.
want to make that small jump, if you're okay with this, with feeling safe. And I think a lot of men don't feel safe.
No, they don't.
Also, they don't feel safe with their own emotions and what they're
No.
going through. So how can men really learn to feel safe again?
So as I was saying at the start, we can talk about this all day, but until
Yeah.
you feel it, it ain't going to change. So I can just say to everybody, all you need to do is feel safe. Just tell yourself, I keep me safe. I am lovable exactly as I am. It doesn't work, Vincent, because you have to feel it
No.
in your core and then you change it. So what Joe Dispenza helped me to understand, he did some amazing work, and he still is. When we go up against our core problems, we can hit something called gamma waves in our brain. And it's very rare for an adult at the moment to hit gamma waves or have prolonged states of gamma in their brain. So when we're in stress, we're in high states of beta in our brain. We can't intuit answers, we can't be creative, and the whole system's not functioning very well. It's in a state of distress and chaos. When we start to look at our own inner core beliefs and we change them on an emotional level, our brains go into gamma waves because it knows that a change is occurring at a core level. So we do this a lot as kids. Like it's like we're sponges, we're just soaking up information. And if anything goes seriously wrong emotionally, our brain flips into gamma and we say to ourselves, we need to create a new operating system here because that happened and it wasn't okay. So I'll just stop myself being lovable. I'll just stop myself feeling like I could trust myself, or whatever it is. That has to change. And neurologically, in that moment, it all shifts because the brain goes into gamma. So we've used gamma waves to get us into this problem when we were young and we were being traumatized, and then layers and layers over years and years. The only way out is to utilize gamma to be able to reset the neurology and get it back to how it's supposed to be in our core. And so this is a felt experience. I can say to everybody, all you need to do is tell yourself that you are safe and you will trust yourself and you are lovable and you can speak your truth. But until you go through an emotional process in that core of your truth, you cannot shift it. So what Joe Dispenza does is he gets a load of people together meditating and leaning into these core beliefs, and over a retreat, then some of them will have a life-changing experience. Their brain will hit gamma, all of their neurology through their entire core gets flushed and realigned to the new story, and the chronic illness symptoms fall away, or the emotional distress problem falls away, and it's almost like it's nearly gone. There's still threads of it. There's still emotional triggers. So, their mum or their partner or their child could say something to them and it might trigger that loop. But if they just remind themselves, it's just an old thread of neurology and it's going and it's soon going to be gone, it will. So this is a feeling experience. I can't tell anybody, but I can tell someone, all you've got to do is feel safe and loved in your core and trust yourself and listen to your gut and listen to your heart. But until you have felt experience of that in a safe environment, being guided by someone who can walk you through into the dark corners of your psyche in your shadows, and then hold your hand as you walk back out and restory it, then it doesn't change.
Yeah,
And I've had this so many times, especially with people that I'm love and I'm close to, that struggle with anxiety, and they're like, "But you've told me so many times, I just need to trust my gut, and I need to tell myself I keep me safe, and it'll all fall away." Yeah, but you have to feel that experience. You have to know what that feels like in your gut, that you trust yourself. What does that feel like? And that's when I realized that when I hold eye contact with someone in a session and I'm taking them up to the edge of their pain, there is nowhere else to go, Vincent. One client, so I was with one client, I was asking them to own the line, I'm good enough exactly as I am. And I knew that was the core wound for them. I asked them to look me in the eye and say it. And they've been in session with me 2 or 3 hours. And they looked at me, and then they looked away and they looked distressed. And then they looked back, and then they looked away and they looked distressed. And they said, I don't know why I can't say this. I really want to say this. I know I have to say this, and I can't. Why can't I say it, Ashley? And I said to them, because you're right up against your truth inside. You know that if you don't say this and truly believe it in your core, your life will continue to be the same as it was, and all the impacts. And you know what that looks like, right? Or otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here with me right now. And you know that everything changes in this moment when you believe this in your bones, that you are good enough exactly as you are in every moment. So I invited her to close her eyes and take a deep breath and then open them and then say the line. And she tried and she couldn't. And she was really in distress. And so I asked the question something like, are you willing to live your life the same as it's been and carry this pain and this trauma around for the rest of your life, and we'll just let this go? Or are you willing to own this line right now? Because the moment that you do, you know that your life is going to change forever. And so she closed her eyes, she took a deep breath, she opened her eyes, and she said it with absolute clarity from within her. And it was clear to both of us in that moment. And it was like a sparkle, magical experience. In that absolute moment, her entire neurology, Vincent, got flushed and changed. In that moment, her whole neurology said, I am good enough, and I've always been good enough exactly as I am. Her life changed forever from that moment. One sentence with absolute clarity from her core.
Powerful, really powerful.
Yeah.
The thing that came to me, Ashley, is also the journey, how you discovered it. It started with your partner, right? It was a really fascinating story that you told me, how you discovered it.
Yeah. So I met my partner 6 years ago. Yeah, get the dates right. 6 years ago. And she was struggling with some physical symptoms. Doctors were they gave her various diagnoses, lots of different names of things that they said she had wrong with her. I'd gone through a lot of this training, so I already knew that most illness symptoms are a consequence of an emotional thing. And it was really starting to affect her a couple of years ago. And so I asked her a couple of questions. Are you willing to let this kill you? Do you want to see your kids grow up? And are you willing to do whatever it takes to be able to fix this? And she said, well, of course I am. I said, well, are you willing to explore this right now? Should we just get into this like right now? Let's just do this. And she said yes. And so I just started to explore some of this with her, just very gently. And it's like she peeled back the cover and she realized within an hour or so of us chatting that if she gives all of her love to other people, she has none left for herself. That's the people pleaser. They give and give and give to make everybody else happy. If everybody else is happy, then they can be happy. But what happens is there's no heart energy. And sometimes it's like an empty bucket. And if there's no heart energy, then that's a real big problem for the system. And so she learned within that process with me that she had to unconditionally love herself as a priority above everything else. That had to come first. That she had to have her own back. That she had to be able to almost like parent her inner child, if you've heard about inner child work. Everything changed, Vincent. She just spent, up until that point, she just spent just over 3 months mostly in bed. And when she got up, she was grey, her legs would buckle. She was being diagnosed with various autoimmune disorder symptoms, diagnoses, was being told she'd be on medication for the rest of her life. It would never make the symptoms go away, but it might lessen some of them. And then within 1 hour of talking about her core neurology, her colour came back to her face and she stood up and she went, wow, I feel quite good right now. I actually feel like I've got loads of energy. She looked about 20 years younger. And in that moment, I knew that something had changed. Now, she'd been wearing glasses all of her adult life. The next day, she picked up her glasses and she couldn't see. And she put them down and she went, oh, I can see again.
Wow.
Long range and short range vision resolved. She even had a prism in one of the lenses. It was so complex, her prescription on her eye lenses. She doesn't wear glasses anymore. She'd had a locked jaw since she was a late teenager, I think, or early 20s, which meant that she could only open her mouth a bit. She couldn't open it fully. And 3 days after the session, after this piece of work she did, she yawned in bed and it went crack and it unlocked. It unlocked something that had been held there for over 30 years.
Wow.
Held there because of the neurology that said that she wasn't important and she didn't deserve to be loved by her, or whatever her flavor of story was. And we never got into, because it's my partner, I had to be very delicate because it's her stuff, it's her journey, and I'm still her partner. Her neurology changed in her core on that day. The symptoms all went away and other symptoms then started to fade and dissipate. And one of the symptoms did come back. I found her like a few weeks later in the kitchen and her knees were buckling and she'd gone grey. And she said, oh, I think I'm going to have to take myself off to bed. I'm feeling really rough. And I said, are you worrying about anything right now? And she went, well, there is this thing. And then she told me about it. And then as she was talking, there was like inner strength and she was getting clearer and stronger. I was like, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to find an answer to this problem? Or are you going to put it down? Because at the moment, it's putting you in bed. She went, it doesn't even need an answer. I'm done with it. It's not going to find an answer right now. I don't even care. And the feeling and the symptom just went away. Because in that moment, she'd retold herself, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. And that actually makes me ill and puts me in bed. So I am not going to do it. Like, it's just a no. I am not going to worry anymore. You know, unless there is a lion or someone with a knife. That's when we worry, because we are in threat of life. There is a serious danger. If it's about, a school report or getting back to school or, X, Y, Z, whatever people worry about, if it's not a threat to life, it's not actually going to help anything. It's just going to make things worse. And so in that moment, she realized that she can reprogram her neurology, and she's gone on to do lots of different pieces of work on herself, by herself. It's just, she just needed that guidance to get over the first hurdle. And that's what a lot of people need, just to get over the first few hurdles. And then after someone's had a session with me, I then give them some aftercare as to how to just carry on that journey by themselves. And I'm happy for them to come back, but most of them don't, because it's like they've got a new map of how to navigate their life. And no one can fix it but them, right? I can't change your neurology, Vincent. I'd love to, but I can't.
Well, still, it's really fascinating, that journey. When you told me, I was like, wow, it's really powerful. Also, how you talk to yourself, how it can resolve a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's quite mind blowing.
Yeah. So I'd heard a couple of stories from shadow work in the past of, someone coming with chronic fatigue, lying in the corner of the retreat all weekend on a bed, and then coming and doing their session, and then the chronic fatigue has just gone away and it just never reappeared, and everybody's going like, wow, that's powerful. I don't understand why. So when it happened to my partner, to my fiance, in front of my face, and I've got a passion to create the best therapy on the planet, I'm like, I have to understand biologically, chemically, neurologically, what has just happened and why, and then how can we reproduce it for everybody else. And then I started to understand that no one has to sit in pain, and everybody can let go of their trauma, and everybody can rewrite their neurology once they start understanding how.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it's also, I start with myself. My own responsibility is to heal myself. And
Yeah.
it took decades and decades for me to understand that I have to do that. I can also sit at home, complain, and do nothing. But I felt if I want to change my life, I have to do the work. It
Yeah.
like I said, it's really, you have to do it. It's your responsibility to start working on yourself, working on your traumas, and
Mm,
start to heal yourself. And in it's a long and tough journey. It depends how deep and what you've been through. But I changed so much. I feel so much better. I'm way positive into life now, instead of, you saw me like a couple of years ago, I was so toxic, I was so negative, resenting, anger. And
mm,
I knew I couldn't go like this anymore. I knew I had to change. So taking the step and healing and going through therapy, it changed my life forever. And
mm,
it took courage. It took a lot of courage for me to
absolutely.
take the first step, but it was necessary. It was really necessary.
Yeah.
So Ashley, again, it's like I said, we can talk about this for hours and hours and hours. It's so fascinating. You have so much to share with us, and I'm really, really grateful for the things that you share with us today and insightful conversations that we have. But I'm also really curious because you also mentioned you wanted to do a session with me. So if you're still up for it, we can do one.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to do a session with you, Vincent. So,
Awesome.
so I mean, so this can work on like serious trauma, as I said, but it can also work on minor stuff like lack of self-worth, lack of motivation, um,
Okay.
but it can also work on someone's spiritual journey. So, and this is where it gets really fascinating. So we
Okay.
are, I don't know if you've heard, but we're like a toroidal field of energy. Well, everything is a toroidal field of energy. If our core axis of alignment and neurology through our core is holding on to trauma and it can't process stuff, it's almost like energetically it's blocked. When people clear the blockages and they start to realize the power of their pineal gland and using their heart and their gut, they can start having transcendental experiences in meditation, and they can start reprogramming their neurology during meditation. They can start to become spiritual as their pineal gland starts to attune, and all of their neurology inside them, like literally every neuron's like an antenna. And when we learn how to attune them, we can attune them to the energetics of the field, the quantum field of the people around us. Things start to get really fascinating. So yes, it can work on all sorts of levels, and yes, I would recommend someone trying it or something aligned to it, like shadow work or the Mankind Project weekend or the Women Within weekend, to deep dive into their inner neurology and to find out what's in the dark corners. And I'm happy to walk into any dark corner with anyone.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So you want to do now, or you want to do it another time, or what is the
Well,
plan?
so the way that the session works, it has to be face to face because of the
Okay.
importance of the energetics between the two human beings in the room. I don't know if you've heard of something called limbic resonance. Some people realized recently that between the therapist and the client, if the engagement is clear and connected, something called limbic resonance happens. And the way that they found this was in very gentle and intuitive massage. The limbic entrainment of the therapist starts to resonate with the client and they start to entrain. So if we do this across the internet, I can't do that because I'm energetically not physically connected to you in the same room. We
Makes
could
sense.
try, and I have held some sessions over a, you know, a podcast or whatever, but it doesn't work as well as being in the same room. Um, what the session looks like is they take between 3 and 5 hours. And as I said, normally it's just one session. Sometimes people come back for a second session, but mostly it's one session, and it's like a massive kickstart and a reset to their whole neurology. So the first half of the session we deep dive into everything they've written on their questionnaire about their emotional journey and their chronic their illness and how that's all tied to it, and pain and trauma that's happened through their life. And we unpack that, and then we start to reframe it to go into the second part of the session, which is an emotional experience where we reset all of that neurology.
It's really, I was so excited. I was so curious. But let's do this in the future. I will come and visit you in the UK, and we can do a session. We also do a recording, so I will bring my gear.
Yeah,
and we can do a recording, and afterwards I can share with everybody how I felt, and afterwards, and I can share that with everybody that's interested in learning. But it sounds so powerful and so fascinating. So yeah, Ashley, thank you so much for sharing that, and also your journey. It's been a really powerful 1 hour 40 minutes. I've been on the tip of my seat just listening to you, and
I've got
I've
so much
learned
more to tell
a
you,
lot.
Vincent.
I know, but we have to do that another time, or it's gonna be sitting here for 4 hours, and I don't have all the time. But the thing is, you brought so much to my attention, and also for the people that are listening today, they will have so much benefits from understanding what they've been through and really start to work on themselves. So I want to wrap it up slowly. So what are the 3 to 5 tips that you can give to people that are listening and listening later to the recording? What are the steps that they can take to start the healing journey? But really, what you mentioned, what I like is to listen to your feeling, to listen to your gut feeling, to really actually listen to your heart. I've been saying this a long time, and I've tried, not always, but my heart is so important, and my gut feeling, it will always tell me what I have to do. If I wouldn't listen, I wouldn't be sitting here doing podcasting. My heart told me I have to do this podcast. I have to help people doing this podcast. And also my gut feeling took me a lot of harmful, dangerous situations, because my gut feeling told me, don't do it, it's dangerous. Or I got into a scam, and my gut feeling told me, don't do it. And I just ignored it, and I got scammed. So I want to put more pressure on listening to your gut feeling, listen to your heart, listen to what is telling you, the important messages. So what are the 3 to 5 tips that you can give people to start this journey?
Okay, so it's like we've all been conditioned to be unconscious about our breath, unconscious about our behavior, our impacts, our feelings, and so on and so on and so on. So are the listeners out there willing to give themselves permission to start becoming aware of themselves, to just start to bring awareness, conscious awareness to themselves and their experience and the impact of them on other people? That's a massive step. Are you willing to give yourself permission to feel everything? And just at the start, are you willing to give yourself permission to feel something? Are you willing to give yourself permission to go into the dark corners and find where those stories are that have been affecting your moment by moment experience of being a human being? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to be able to find out who you truly are when all of that shit goes away, Vincent? When all of that stuff gets laid down, all of the neurology and the programming and the conditioning of you not being inherently and authentically you, do you give yourself permission to be all in to find out what Vincent actually looks like when all that's gone?
I really feel it. I feel like you're talking to my soul, man. Like, oof,
I am
my
talking to
heart.
your soul.
Yeah, I feel it. I really feel it.
Yeah.
Damn.
This is a feeling journey, man. When did you last feel awe? Like, oh my God. Oh, that feeling. When did you last feel that?
It's been years.
Right. Yeah. You've been socially conditioned to not feel that for nearly your entire life. It's okay for a child to feel it, but come 6, 7 years old, people don't do that anymore, right? They don't feel awe. Why not, Vincent? That feeling, that's gamma. That can change your neurology within a second. If you give yourself permission to feel awe, things can start to get really interesting.
Actually, this came up to me because we also are conditioned to be like workers, slave workers.
Yep.
But we really lost our inner child, right? I also did an episode about that as well. We neglect the inner child. We think there's nothing there anymore. The inner child is like gone, but it's still there. And I had so many sessions that I did also with my psychologist, and we did sessions with my inner child, little Vincent. And I had to envision myself and holding little Vincent and say, it's okay. And it broke my heart just how I didn't support my inner child. I didn't.
Well, you were never taught.
No.
The people around you were teaching you not to look after little Vincent.
Yeah. But also myself. I didn't look at him anymore. And my therapist said, it's still there. Yes. He's still there, but he's crying in the corner because you don't look at him anymore. He feels alone. He feels scared. You need to go to him, nurture him, talk to him. Yeah. And it was like, oof, man. And also I did a breathing session also with the Wim Hof. And also there I just broke. And they asked me, why did you cry? And I said, I felt connected again with my inner child. I just neglected it. Yeah. So I feel always, now that you mentioned it, it's so important to really love your inner child because it's still there. It's not been away. You've grown up, but still the inner child is there. Also, I heard some people, they have like these trains that they want to play with, but they stop because they're not a child anymore. It's like, why are you stopping? If you enjoy playing with trains and you love to do that as a child, why are you quitting? Yeah, but because my partner or people think I'm strange. No, do what you love to do. Nurture that inner child. Love it. It's so sad that people don't look at it anymore.
Our hearts know what's going to happen to us emotionally before it happens. This has been scientifically proven. They did a load of testing and they found out that people's hearts and the vagus nerve was activating before they saw what was about to happen. So they got some like pictures of some emotionally activating things, and then it was a black screen and then an emotional picture, and then a blank screen and then an emotional picture. And the scientists realized the heart was responding to it before the picture turned up. So if it can know what's going to happen emotionally before it happens, then are we listening and are we following what our heart says? Because our heart is always trying to lead us in the direction of harmony and bliss and serenity. Do we know how to listen? Do we know how to stop? And do we know the language of it? But because it isn't left brain, analytical and processing and ruminating. It doesn't speak that language. It speaks a different language. And so to everybody out there, are you willing to give yourself permission to understand the language of your heart? Because it's trying to lead you somewhere, and that's into serenity and bliss. Are you willing to give yourself permission to go on that journey? Because you know what, Vincent, is beautiful. My life does not feel or look the same as it did 2 years ago, let alone 5, 10 years ago, before this all started for me. It can become a beautiful journey when we remember how to use the tools we've been given, our hearts, our guts, our minds.
Yeah, it's like I said, we have everything what we need inside of us, but we just have to look at it. We just have to put the fire on. We just have to put the light on it. Like, hey, where is everything? That's the thing. I was always reading books, always out of myself, looking for ways, but I realized everything that I need is inside of me. But I have to trust myself. I have to trust my skills. And if some skills I have to learn, then I can go out there and do it and learn the skills. Also with podcasting. In the beginning, I was struggling. I was not talking clear. Sometimes I struggle with that as well, but still it's a challenge, and you have to learn, but you have to do it, and then you get better and better and better. And it's with everything. You are so powerful as a human being. And what came to me when I was driving home, usually we say, I can't. When we want to do something, oh, I can't. It's too difficult. No, because my friend did it, so I can't. But why don't we change it to I can? I can do that. You change your physics in your body and you feel good. Yeah, I can. And if you did it, you told or you showed your brain, you see, I can do it.
Yes.
And then you will build the confidence, and then you feel like, oh yeah, I feel really good about it. I can, as you see, I can do it. And that's what I've learned on my journey. I have to show my brain that I can do it. But it took a long time for me to get out of the negative and switch and go into the positive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's beautiful, Ashley, what you said today. I felt this is a really powerful episode. I'm so grateful for having you on the show. And yeah, I have one more question that I always answer my guests, and that is, what is the most difficult challenge that you had in your life, and what is the most thing that you're proud of in your life? That's good that you're thinking.
Yeah, I want to give it the respect it deserves, because that's a really important question.
It is.
Okay. On my Mankind Project weekend, as I said, I gave myself permission to feel. I gave myself permission to cry, but I also welcomed and embraced the part of me that wanted to destroy things. So I'd always seen that as bad and wrong because it destroys things. My inner rage and everybody else's rage, it destroys things. And so it's put in the bad and wrong box. But I couldn't stop me doing it. It's like I almost saw it like a pressure cooker or like a volcano, and trying to keep a lid on it, and then poof, and it would explode. Because I'd put that energy in the bad and wrong box, I was inherently making myself bad and wrong for even feeling it or acting on it. And so every time I did it, I would then beat myself up and go into a shame cycle that I'd been angry again or irritated again. And why can't I stop it? Why do I keep going around the loop? On that weekend, I met that part of myself and I accepted and embraced it. It can still attack and destroy and kill things, and it is a part of me. If I embrace it, I can work with it. If I stick it in the dark corner in the bad and wrong box, I'm at odds and at conflict with it forever. The moment I embrace it and work with it, then I can harness it and utilize it as an energy rather than it destroying things. So when I did, one of the things I went through was when I was feeling that anger feeling come up, that energy, and it's massively powerful, Vincent. If I could catch myself, I'd say, you need to get out of this situation right now, and you need to run like a steam train. And do you know what, Vincent? In that moment, I could run faster than I could any other time in my life, and longer. It's like that energy in me was huge because it wants to fight something, right? I'm supercharged to fight a giant. But what am I doing with that energy? How am I harnessing it? Am I shouting at my kids or slamming something around because I'm not getting what I wanted? Or am I transmuting that energy to do something that's good and useful, which is exercise? And when I exercise, like in that moment, I run myself completely out of breath, and then the feeling's gone away. I've literally emotionally reset myself and harnessed the energy and used it for a purpose of good. So yeah, that was massively powerful for me to start to embrace my shadows rather than leaving them in the dark and dirty corners. And there was two sides to your question. I think I've answered one side.
The positive, yeah. The negative and the positive. The most challenging and the most, liberating. The most thing that you're proud of in your life.
I was about to say creating this therapy because I have helped some people out of some dark places. I've helped a couple of people, a few people that were on the suicide list. And if they hadn't come for the session, or more importantly, if the session hadn't been successful, they wouldn't still be here, Vincent. And that was really clear. They're still alive. That really touches me, man. It's like I gave them the opportunity of having a second chance. That really touched me. All my clients really touch me. But I think the way I'm going to answer this is from a personal level, because I can help all the people in the world that I want. But if I can't actually operate and function in my family in a healthy and happy way, then I'll never find happiness. I can go and live on a hill by myself. Obviously, I'll find some sort of happiness, but we're herd animals. We're supposed to be with people. We're supposed to be in a unit that's loving, connected, safe. And so in learning all of the process of this work, I learned how to hold what anybody brings to me in that session. I can hold anything that they bring. It's not too big for me. It's not too big for them. In that, Vincent, I learned how to hold myself and navigate emotional stuff within my family. And that was massive, because the moment that I could hold space for me and the other people in my family, they could then start to deal with all of their stuff, because my stuff wasn't getting in the way. And what that really came down to for me, as I said, it was like I would go to irritation or I would go to confrontation. That was my go-to as my healing coping mechanism. How it worked in my family for me was 3 words, and I got these from some. It was a Buddhist on YouTube. He said these 3 words: if you can remember these in an emotionally highly charged situation, they are a lifesaver. They are patience, silence, and compassion. Not just for the person in front of you, but for you. If you can sit in those 3 words, the energetics of those 3 words, when the emotions are high, things start to change. Now, my partner had said to me probably 1,000 times, I don't want you to fix it, Ashley. I just want you to listen. She was inviting me to be silent, patient, and compassionate. Was I listening? No. The moment that I gave her that space, when she brought something emotionally charged and I just held space for her, she could unfold her stuff emotionally. I was holding me, I was holding space for her. And then I started to do it with my children and my friends and my family. And all of a sudden, I'm holding space for people to unfold their stuff. I'm just being me. But what I'm doing in that moment is I'm providing a space. I'm not speaking. I'm being very passionate and patient and compassionate with their stuff in the moment so they can unfold it. And that was an absolute game changer for me, Vincent. And my family now feels more harmonized and seen and heard and accepted. And that's beautiful.
Perfect. I have nothing to add. Ashley, thank you so much for this exhilarating, powerful episode. I loved every second of it. I've learned so much, and you really made me think also of myself and the traumas and everything. I've done a lot of work, but I really, like you said, really go more into the spiritual side of me, go more into the heart space, the gut feeling, and make it more powerful, make it more then I'm more in aligned with myself and really be in power. That, as you said, that we are meant to be as human beings. We need to be in our power, but we put in this low vibration and that we're not good enough. This is too difficult, but we are so capable of do so much more. And you brought on so important things that will help a lot of people. So Ashley, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to do another one with you. We have so much to talk
We do.
about. The thing that I also want to ask, you also had a free gift, but you're still working on it?
Yes. So one of my passions is meditation. And so, you know, when I stop and I go into silence and I go into my breath, and then I start to play around with my neurology in that space, I can tinker and change it, and so can other people. And so I'm creating a set of like guided meditations that I'm just going to give away for free. I give all of this away for free, Vincent, if I was a millionaire and I didn't have to pay the mortgage and put food on the table and so on and so forth, because it is my calling. But yeah, I want to create those and just give them away for free. And hopefully that will just help someone get over the next hurdle, help someone to just unfold that next bit of their shadow process. And maybe it will help someone to completely rewire their neurology. Who knows?
Yeah, everything, every small thing helps. If it is a meditation or something that we discussed in this episode, for me, it's planting the seed. If we can say something or give something that can help them on their journey, they have to walk themselves eventually. They can have the tools, but you have to walk the path yourself. But we gave a lot of value. We gave a lot of insight and information, and I really enjoyed the talk with you, Ashley. You're so I wanted to say this is your first time doing a podcast with me, and I'm really honored and grateful that you took the time to be here and explained. And you're a really good speaker. You have so much knowledge, and I know you will help a lot of people and benefit from what you do. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing. You have a really big heart. You have a really big passion, and also to help people. And that's what we really need today in this world, to start healing ourselves little by little.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Ashley, again, thank you so much. So for the listeners, how can they follow you?
My website is connectedheart.co.uk. I'm on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. It's got some content from the past. So as I said, in the past couple of years, the new therapy got created. So then there's a new website, and now I'm starting to get into the marketing of that, hence the podcast with you and many more to come. So yeah, on the website and on the channel, there's going to be lots of videos dropping in there as how to just navigate this journey of unpacking the trauma and letting go and remembering who we are. If someone wants to come and really pick it apart and get into their own neurology, then to come book a session with me. I also do coaching calls. If someone wants to explore some stuff on the phone, we can do that. All sorts of possibilities. And if you don't want to work with me, this isn't about me, Vincent. This is just about helping humanity. Go and look at the Mankind Project. Go and look at Women Within. Go and find shadow work. Have a go. See what happens. Are you willing to spend the rest of your life living how you've been living, or are you willing to be all in to find out who you really are without the illness and the pain and the trauma? I don't mind how people get help. They just my wish for anybody listening is to make the choice to start helping themselves.
Give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance to do some work, do some research, and you will see it will benefit you on the long term. I've seen it with myself. Ashley's seen it with himself. Other people doing this work, inner healing, looking at the shadow side, it's so important. And I will guarantee you, once you do the work, you feel so much better and you're happy. It's not easy, but you will be happy and grateful and proud of yourself for doing it. And you have to do it. Like I said, nobody's going to help you, save you. You're going to have to do it. So Ashley, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your valuable information. It was a really powerful episode. You really touched my heart. I still feel it buzzing. You really touched me on a lot of points. So thank you so much. So before we're going to go, do you want to add something, say something?
Yeah, I guess in closing, what I've created, the therapy I've created is one session, and it can completely transform someone's life and look at the neurology throughout the system. Someone can take decades, and some people have said to me, I actually enjoyed the process of it taking a long time because there was a lot of learning in that. So my advice to everybody is this could take you decades to all unravel all of this stuff, or you could supercharge it and come and have one session, understand all of your neurology and the pathway out of the pain and the trauma. It's all options. It's all options. I'd prefer that no one sits in pain and trauma because they don't have to. And now we know that there's another choice. Love you all.
That's a really good close. Thank you so much. So Ashley, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here. I always enjoy having guests like you. I have learned so much, and it will also expand my knowledge. And it's not my knowledge, but it's more, I will expand my awareness and I will learn more, and I can help also other people as well doing this. So Ashley, again, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been really awesome. And do me a favor, like and subscribe to my How to Heart show. And you can also follow me on social media. You can see my journey and things that I'm doing, and also what I'm gonna do in the future. I will have episodes every Friday, and I will do lives like this in between. So it's really cool. I'm really grateful that I can do this work. It feels really good to have a purpose and really helping humanity to be in so much pain, and giving them some tools, coaching to help them get a better life. And that's really I'm really grateful for doing this work and having people like Ashley and other people here on the show. So Ashley, again, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hey Lions, thank you for listening. Glad to have you on our journey to the authentic self. Want to learn more to embrace your potential? I invite you to keep listening. Do me a favor and smash the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps the show reach more listeners who need to hear these messages. See you next time.